From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production, the NFL Bet Exchange, hosted by my man, Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the Don of Cape Cod, Jeff Dawson.
It is time for the NFL Bet Exchange, and I'm your host, the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and our East Coast connection, the Don of Cape Cod himself, the other host, Mr. Jeff MFing Dawson. Y'all got to understand, man, he is a legend. Like, literally, like if you from his area, you already know. I think your wife put it up one time too, Jeff. It was a Facebook situation. She put up a picture of you when you were a kid, and it was like some big magazine situation, local situation. And she said, look at the superstar then. And Jeff had a basketball in his hand, and he was about 2 inches taller than he is now. But it was awesome to see.
No, she was spot on. This was I got pulled for a back to school special from the Cape Cod Times, their big once a year edition, and I got pulled off the Little League field right to take some pictures, and then I was all decked up in a back to school with a Dr. Seuss lunchbox, suit, tie. It was comical. That was back in '78, Pop. So we've come a long way since.
And see, Jeff is one of those people that, because he's a little bit shorter, it's really easy when they see these type of kids, they'll grab them quickly because they know that they can do a little bit more. They know that you're going to fit into the clothes and it's going to look cool, and nobody really knows what your age is. You know what I mean? So it's always fun. So I just wanted to tell everybody a little bit about that story real quick so y'all can get to know Jeff a little bit more. If you're not from his area, that he was a star, he was a childhood star. Okay. All right. And then, but it was funny. Before we get into it, the Kelsey brothers put up a picture of them in the Bernie Kosar outfits because, Bernie went to the game and everything and copped the feeling on Taylor Swift. He was really happy about that. So, those same uniforms that they wore, I got that same situation. I still got the helmet upstairs, but I got a one up on them. Bernie actually threw me a ball at the old camp at John Carroll. And one of these days I will break out those pictures for everybody so it doesn't just seem like I'm just making some shit up. But it did happen, and that's why Bernie Kosar is forever my favorite quarterback. And I do need to break him out so Bernie can see that, 30 some odd years later that, his boy is doing all right. You know what I mean? So, you know what? Let's get into it, Jeff. I'm excited. It's week 9. Let's talk about week 8 first, though. Week 8 results, win, loss, PT bets. I went 7-9 last week. Raiders, you messed me up last night. We could have went 8-8 and had a 500 week, but I'm 56-66 on the year. Jeff we were somewhat on the same page. We somewhat finished the same, but Jeff got the draw on one of his situations. So he's 6-9-1 last week and has fallen to 59-63-2. But I know that this is a bounce back week because this is week 9 and we got a lot of really good games on the schedule this week, Jeff, that really cater to our betting tendencies, in my opinion. And up first, let's go ahead and talk about this one. This is an old rivalry game from even the old Oiler days. But we know that for a slight moment there, it was a pretty good rivalry when the Titans did move to Tennessee in the first few years in the old AFC Central. So the Steelers and Titans are very aware of each other, but we know they had some real wars back in the day and everything like that. Jeff, I'm going to let you kick this one off. What are your thoughts on this game and who do you have winning?
I was high on the Steelers preseason. Really thought that Pickett was going to take the next step. The early season injury, I thought to Deontay Johnson was a big step back. And they struggled early, came out of the gate slow, but I liked what I saw. They come out after the break. They beat the Rams, get to 4-2. They came back home on this past Sunday, and Pickett has to leave the game. And what really stung for me is that was We had Denver outright. We had the Chargers. That was the third wheel of our action parlay. So they cost us a lot of money at ECSI on Sunday. But my point here is don't know if Pickett's playing. The assumption is he's not. So they're going to wheel in Trubisky. Obviously, Pat Fry moved on the IR. They still have Deontay Johnson. They still have Pickens. And, of course, the two-headed monster with Warren and Najee Harris. On the flip side, Titans, Tannehill gets hurt. In comes their rookie sensation, Mr. Levis. And actually, no, I'm sorry. Was it Willis? Willis to Levis. He throws 4 touchdowns. He's the next coming to, Kenny Stabler, Warren Moon. And if you saw the end of the game as he's running to the tunnel, it was like Vrabel pulled them aside and almost said, "Yo, kid, not so fast." And I'm hearing that he might not start this week. I got to go with the true number here. Steelers opened up -3 with a 34. It's still -3 with a 36. I think the Steelers win. I bought the hook and took them down to 2.5. But if you really like the Steelers, I'm confident that you could play the money line. Short week, I think it's a good bounce back spot for them. I think they get to 5-3 pops. I like the Steelers.
All right. Well, the Steelers seem like they're a really strong play, and I'm looking at the Steelers situation at home. They played 4 games at home. They're 2-2. They're fresh off of a 10-point loss to the Jaguars, who probably gave them their most thorough beating of the season. I think that they did an even better job than Houston did, because Houston really was a game where they just made a lot of mistakes. But in this one, they played a straight up game, and the Jaguars just showed that they were a much better team. And Trevor Lawrence just added on to, what is already a MVP type season with a great performance against one of the top 3 defenses in the NFL. So that's something that you really do look at, and you say to yourself, you know what, this Steelers team is very middling at best. And, you really don't know what Tennessee is. Tennessee seems like they're a really great team at home. But when they get on the road, it's a little different. And it's easy to tell that. When they get on the road, it gets a little different, because at home they got the crowd behind them and they got a great crowd, but they're 0-3 on the road. And that's something that is really, really questionable with this team, because they have not even been close in these road games either. That's what the thing is. They've absolutely got crushed in every single one of these games. So on a short week with a quarterback issue for the Steelers, somewhat of a quarterback issue for the Titans, you look to yourself and you say, okay, the Titans needed to have some fresh blood put into the situation. And it worked. It worked immensely, okay? And if he's able to start, I think Variable just wanted to make sure that he humbles the kid and make sure that he knows that he's not a guarantee to anything in this league. That's more of a moral lesson. But let's keep it real. The guy threw for 4 touchdowns on debut. He's starting Thursday. You know what I mean? Tannehill has not done anything better than him on tape, and they know that they have to go with that idea. So pretty much what I'm going to do here is this, and I don't act like I didn't see Jeff has it at 2.5 for the Steelers, as you guys can see. And then I'm going to take 3.5 to the Titans. So that's what we're going to do with this one right here. Jeff is on the Steelers. I'm on the Titans. We're going to meet in the middle. So the Steelers win by 3. We're all in good shape. Okay. But really, I would love to see the Titans get the upset here, because I just really don't trust the Steelers at this point. But we know that it's a home game for the Steelers, and we know that this is a team that's a bad road team. So this kind of speaks to the Steelers having a great performance, but they're just not those Steelers anymore, Jeff. That's my whole thing.
No, I agree. We're waiting. That Kenny Pickett's not Ben Roethlisberger, and there's no Le'Veon Bell back there. Go back to Terry Bradshaw, Lynn Swann, yada yada yada. The point is, Mike Tomlin versus Vrabel, 2 great head coaches. Tomlin finds a way, and I give the lean on the defense to the Steelers side, even though Tennessee's got a great front 7 on the defensive side. And lastly, it's the trade deadline at 4:00. I expect Derrick Henry to be starting in the backfield for the Titans as well.
All right, perfect. Perfection. All right, we move forward. The Frankfurt game, Jeff. The Frankfurt game. We got the Dolphins 6-2. Chiefs 6-2. We got the Chiefs coming in here as a -2.5, over under 50.5. We know that this is a pretty much neutral game. And we know that they paid a lot of money to get this matchup in Europe, because we know that this is kind of like a slap in the face to us, because this is really a Saturday. This is really a Sunday night football game. And we all know that, but they can't keep putting the Chiefs on Sunday night football every other week, because, this will be the third time in the first 9 weeks they will be on that, situation. So you have the Dolphins coming in here. Best offense in football, Jeff. Best quarterback when it comes to throwing touchdowns. Best running back when it comes to scoring touchdowns. And just literally the best wide receiver, pound for pound, in the NFL, in a league that's actually led by wide receivers nowadays. And it's just absolutely insane that we cannot consider him the MVP of this league, even though if I was voting today, Jeff, Tyreek Hill's the MVP of the NFL. I don't care, because people have to understand the impact that you make on a team. And I think that his impact will be great on all 32 teams in the NFL, even the ones with bad quarterbacks. He makes average quarterbacks look great. He makes great quarterbacks look legendary. That's an absolute MVP in my book. But I truly do feel, when you break down this game, this one is a game that is a big proving point for the Dolphins, in my opinion. And they keep saying the Dolphins have not beat a really good team this year. I feel like they set the number up so the Chiefs can be a very one-sided bet, where everybody is going to be 80 to 90% on the Chiefs, because the Patrick Mahomes effect, the Andy Reid effect, all that stuff, where people are going to say, you know what, you get them at 2.5, that's an absolute blessing. And, you can take a skinnier money line on them as well, too. I'm not buying the hype, Jeff. I'm going to go ahead and push for the slight upset here. I'm taking the Dolphins with the plus 115. I just really like everything that this team is doing at this point. And you know what? Coming out of that Broncos game, I can't trust what the Chiefs are doing at this point. I know that they just got to get a bye and just get refreshed, but they seem a little off, in my opinion. And I know I'm going to get the Patrick was sick and da-da-da-da-da, but you showed up on Sunday. So, hey, we expect things from you, right? So pretty much I'm going to go ahead and take the Dolphins. I don't know what's going on with this team. I just think that they need a break at this point.
This is usually when I jump in and I give you some, what about Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And my true number was a pick 'em in a 49. Obviously, the public jumps in, and it's Kansas City 2.5 with a 50.5 neutral site. But the funny is, look what San Fran is going through. We were ready to anoint them NFC champs. They have now lost 3 in a row. I talked, there was the perfect spot in Denver. We had Denver with ECSI on the spread and the money line. And I just reading through the tea leaves here, this is the perfect spot for the Dolphins. And the reason is, again, if Vegas opened this up at 2.5 or 3 minus Kansas City, I'd respect that. But when you open it up as a pick 'em, there's only one way that number's going to go, and that's, of course, goes to Andy Reid. It goes to Patrick Mahomes. It goes to Travis Kelce. It goes to the Swifties. I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe. We bought the hook. We took the Dolphins up to 3. I fully expect the Dolphins to win this game. I'll go on record. I think this is a 27-23 game to the Dolphins side. The one thing that no one's talking about on Kansas City side is their defense, and their defense had been playing great. It was just the perfect storm for the Broncos. This could be a matchup for AFC Championship, but I think as we'll get to sooner than later, I've talked about the Ravens, but there's a guy named Joe Cool and Joe Burrow. They look pretty damn good in San Fran. That looks like they're rounded into form. Give me the Dolphins plus the 3, Pups.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. And you know what, Jeff? I'm going to trip everybody out because, Pop DiBiase got the early lines every week as well, too. I do mine Sunday afternoon. And pretty much I had this game as a 5.5 to the Chiefs, minus 5.5. I thought that they were going to say, okay, you know what? We know the Dolphins haven't really played anything, and we know that they don't do well against the playoff teams. So we're going to go ahead and make them a 5.5 so we can make it sexy here. But they made it to where they want a one-sided to the Chiefs. You know what I mean? I thought they were going to try to say, let's go get even money. 5.5 tells me even we getting 50-50 on each side. But when you say 2.5, you're telling me you want 80-20 Chiefs. And you know what? That's not a good bet for an early morning game. I'm sorry. So, I like your thinking. I like my thinking.
And lastly, people are going to also be blindsided for the fact that when the Dolphins played two real good teams, it was at Buffalo, and that's a divisional game, and we know what happens usually on road divisional games. And then it was at Philly on a primetime spot as well. So again, this is a neutral field. This is Frankfurt, and this is a perfect spot for the Dolphins to say, hey, you can think what you want when we played Miami. You can think what we want when we played Philly. This is a whole different ball game. And I think it's a perfect spot for Daniels and the resurging Miami Dolphins to say, hey, once we leave Frankfurt, KC, you got 2 losses. We got 2 losses. And oh, by the way, we own the tiebreaker.
Yep. And that's just the way it is. So let's move forward, and we talk about the Vikings 4-4, and then we got the Falcons 4-4. We got a 4.5 point spread. We got an over under a 37.5. This is a very tricky game because a lot of people will look at it and say to themselves that, is it truly a game that the Falcons can dominate and all that good stuff? When have the Falcons dominated anybody this year other than a lowly Carolina Panthers team? And really, they didn't dominate the Panthers. The Panthers just made mistakes in the fourth quarter and just had an inept offense that day. We know that the Falcons are just like the Chargers. They're going to play in games that are going to be close most of the time. You know what I mean? Especially when they're at home. But when they really get, exposed, they get absolutely crushed. I'm looking at their games. I say, okay, you look at the first 2 weeks of the season, they had 2 home games. Everything is better for the Falcons at home. That's just what it is. And so the Falcons getting 4.5 points, that's not surprising at all. We know the Vikings are in a situation where they don't know who the quarterback is going to be. But this is what I'm going to do here because I don't trust the Falcons, Jeff, at all. I just don't. I think that the Falcons are a good team, but I don't trust them in a spot like this because you're asking them to be a great team, and they're just a good team. And good teams have a little bit of issue sometimes dominating teams that are supposed to be inferior to them coming into a game like this when they're down a position. I truly do feel that there's a reason why we have backup quarterbacks. They're supposed to know the playbook. They get reps in practice as well, too. So what I'm going to do here, so I don't have to sit on this game too long, because this is an under-the-radar game that's really not relevant to what's really going on in the NFL, even though you do have a Falcons team that is chasing the NFC South title. They're wide open in that position. But let's face it, Jeff, they're not going to be really in the say-so of this if they don't win divisional games. And I think they're going to have a real issue with that. But let's stick to this game right here. The Vikings are a team that guys are playing for their positions. And I truly feel that why don't we just go ahead and play the game real quick? They got a guy who's been there all year long. He won the backup job. It wasn't like he was just there and they're just stuck with him as the back. You have to win these jobs, Jeff. That's what people don't understand is that, yeah, it's a backup, but, you guys don't give the backup enough credit. He's in the NFL for a reason. So I'm going to be that guy at Santa Anita on the first race with some 2-year-old fillies and say to myself, with some 2-year-old colts, and say to myself, let's spin a new kid on the block. You know what I mean? The maiden special weight races where you go with the kid that's just been getting workouts in the morning. He ain't had no game yet. So why don't we go ahead and take the first timer to go ahead and get us the cover plus 4.5 here. Darren Hall, get us on.
You know, the resurgent Minnesota Vikings versus the what do we have in Atlanta? I mean, coach had seen enough for Ritter, brings in Heineke. Bijan finally scores again. I have to go and trust like we did on the Kansas City Miami game. I got to go with it here as well. My true number was Falcons -3 with a 38. It's up to 5 now at a 37 or a 37.5. I don't know if it's going to be Ritter or Heineke, obviously on the Atlanta side, but is it Hall? We have 2 hours and 20 minutes till the deadline's over. There's a lot of talk that Minnesota's trying to get Jameis Winston as their quarterback from the Saints here to take them to the promised land. There'll be no Fran Tarkenton, no Dante Culpepper, whatever you want back there. Jordan Addison has really emerged as a great rookie wide receiver. They still got Madison. It looks like Cam Akers kind of pushing Madison now over there. A defense that's not playing that well. I like Atlanta. I like Atlanta at home. And I actually think their defense will cause fits to whoever's QB in there. We bought the hook. We took Atlanta to -4 here with the 37. I think the final score here is more in that 24-14, somewhere like that. I think Minnesota's going to have a hard time scoring here, Pops. I like the Falcons in the spot.
Good choice. And you know what? Funny thing is, we talk about Minnesota quarterback issues. Who they bringing? Jameis Winston was a guy that they had on the radar, but guess what? You got to settle for Josh Dobbs. It's just been confirmed. Breaking news: Josh Dobbs has just been traded to the Minnesota Vikings because they are in the transition of handing the team back over to Kyler Murray. I'm hearing right now that they're getting Kyler Murray ramped up this week to become to take back his starting spot this week. They were saying Clayton Tune, but Kyler Murray is actually the priority this week, and if he's ready to go, he'll be playing on Sunday from what I'm hearing.
Not a good spot for them, obviously, traveling to Cleveland, and we'll get to that game. And it was funny because the Dobbs news came yesterday where it was going to be Tune or Murray, and I was like, what's going on with Dobbs? Hats off to Arizona, picking him up, getting him ready for week 1, and he did a hell of a job. And now Minnesota is like, all right, fine. I mean, I can't expect him to pick up the playbook for this game, but he did do it in week 1 for Arizona. So it actually helps me in some fantasy spots because I do have Dobbs in a few spots. So thank goodness for that. And hey, it helps Addison. It helps KJ Osborne. It might actually even speed up the process for Justin Jefferson. So hats off.
Yep, it looks good to me. So let's go ahead and move forward, but I still want to see the rookie play on Sunday. I think that you just don't throw a guy right in there Sunday and say, okay, yeah, you bring him in as emergency situation. Let the other guy get an opportunity because he knows the playbook. Don't force the situation if you don't have to. He has a rapport with the receivers already, and when you got receivers like he does, Osborne, Jefferson, and Addison. Let him get a shot. Just let him get a shot. You don't just throw somebody new into the mix because they did okay in another spot. You know what I mean? But we got to move forward because we got to get to our first commercial. And we move forward to this right here. The Commanders 3-5, the Pats 2-6, -3 spread to the Pats. Also, you have an over under of 40. Commanders coming into this game, and let's keep it real. If this was 30 years ago, we would have had a report about that game last week. That's a top 10 quarterback battle of all time, Jeff. 397 on one side, 319 on the other side. We both threw for 4 touchdowns in this game. They both threw for over 75 in the completion percentage. Why did we not talk about the duel in this game as much as, you talk about everything else in football? That was an absolute incredible day. Period, point blank. Hurts and Howe put on a damn show. That reminded me of Marino and O'Brien in the Meadowlands in the 80s, man. That was a beautiful, beautiful game, man. And it reminded me of another game they had in Miami years ago between Marino and Bledsoe. So, man, this is what makes the NFL great. Sometimes you'll get a matchup that's not a big matchup, but it turns into a big matchup, and it's usually these divisional games. And I'm saying this because I like the Commanders' confidence, man. I don't care what anybody says about this team. They still have a confidence to themselves that they can go win these games, and they easily could be a team that's 5-3 at this point. You know what I mean? So, there's too much discrediting of the Commanders because they don't have box office names for you, but they have one of the better receiving cores in the NFL. Their one issue is the running game, and I just really feel like what happens with their defense is they spend too much time on the field, and they don't have enough back end, and they're not getting enough pressure on the quarterback. But they're a team that they get better as they go, but there's a lot of issues going on in Washington right now. Now, when it comes to the Patriots aren't playing to win, dude. I don't think they are. I think the Patriots are playing for the idea that they're going to go get this kid, Drake May from North Carolina. Or they got the opportunity to go get one of these really good quarterbacks in college, because this is a quarterback draft coming up, Jeff. I think we'll get 5 in the top 15 at least. You know what I mean? Because all these teams that are going to be in the top 15 are looking for quarterbacks. So the Patriots are going to always show effort, but they know they don't have the roster. They just don't, Jeff. They just don't have the roster. The roster this is not a Belichick roster. This is a Josh McDaniels roster. You know what I mean? That's why it's like, why y'all embarrassing Bill like this? You know what I mean? Because Bill, we still know he's putting in a lot of effort to get this team over the top, but it's just not working, And I feel like the Commanders are going to be really pissed this week. And Eric Bieniemy knows exactly how to attack Bill Belichick. So my good news only dog bet of the week, and this is kind of a simple one. Like, they literally are handing me a golden situation. I feel like this is a golden ticket. Give me the plus 31-35 on the Commanders, man. Got to take it. No doubt about it. What are your thoughts? Who do you have winning the game?
I've been getting chastised all year, and I'm glad you're saying something initially on this one. Sam Howell, all the Washington Commanders, and the people don't watch the games. I'm not saying Sam Howell is Joe Theismann, okay? But my point is he can make all the throws. And you know what? If you gave him an offensive line, he is the most sacked quarterback in the NFL, and it's not even close. He's got all the weapons. The reemergence, thank God he was on a milk carton all year. Jahan Dotson finally comes back to life. If he had more time, McLaurin has a big game. Logan Thomas has a big game. This initially reminded me of when the Saints came in and they beat the Patriots 31-0 or 33-0, whatever the final score was. The Patriots 2 weeks ago were the talk where they stunned the Bills. They were in a bad situation, obviously, in South Beach. This is where the Patriots begin their march, a game against Washington this week, and then they travel to Frankfurt to face the Colts. So I like the Pats. I'm not going to mess with the spread. I laid the minus 155. It's a big number. I don't like doing that, but I think the Pats get it done, and I think Sam Howell, as big of a week he had last week, I think Bill will find ways to slow him down and look for a pick or two maybe. If not, if they don't put pressure on Sam Howell, he will pick them apart. So give me the Pats, give me the money line, just win, baby. My number was 2 with a 40.5. It's now 3 with a 40. I think this is your patented. Give me 23-13 pops on this one.
All right. So you're saying that the Pats play some defense here and lock it up and get themselves a nice win at home. Because if this game was on the road, I know you're not taking the Pats.
Hell no.
But you know what, though, Jeff? You're smart. You know that the history of the Commanders coming to Boston has not been good since they left the place years ago. So, pretty much, you guys got to know that, too. Boston Redskins are the original Boston team. And actually, they were the Boston Braves at first, and then the Boston Braves didn't like them having their name, so they named themselves the Redskins as an even more super diss towards the Boston Braves were a little controversial when you think about them nowadays, you know what I mean? But hey, you a team that moved 4 times before you got settled, so it is what it is. But before we go to commercial break, one thing about Sam Howell that I want to say. Sam Howell was considered the best quarterback coming out the draft his junior year and decided to stay back a year with Mac Brown. We all know this. He decided to stay back with Coach Mack and, raise his status, but they were chasing a national title. They were trying to make history at North Carolina. That's why you got to like a kid like this, because he could have ran to the NFL and been a top pick, but he said, no, I want to help them do something great. You know what I mean? And I should still be in the same position next year. But it kind of messed him up, but it put him in the right situation to where when we saw Sam Howell get drafted by Washington, we said he'll be starting soon. That's the equivalent of getting a number one pick. That's like getting Russell Wilson late in the draft. That's like getting Levis late in the draft. But another thing, just the last thing about Howell is that if you put Sam Howell on the Atlanta Falcons right now, Jeff, they would probably be, I would say, 6-2 with a quarterback like that. He's going to get Drake London. He's going to get Pitts right. He's going to make Bijan Robinson look like the next coming of Barry Sanders. He'll make Algier look great. He's not – that would be a beautiful move for them. But the thing was, I think when you look at it, they had the opportunity, but they went and got Desmond Ridder of all people. So it is what it is at the end of the day, man. And we go ahead. We're going to take our first commercial break. When we get back, we got tons more games to talk about. So you guys stay tuned. This is the NFL Bet Exchange with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the Don of Cape Cod himself, Mr. Jeff Dawson.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners, and I'll have another in Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune into Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, here we are. Let's go ahead and jump into our next game, and that's going to be this one right here. It's going to be the Bears and the Saints. Bears coming into this one 2-6, Saints 4-4, 7.5 point spread to the Saints at home this weekend, and then you have an over/under of 41 as well too. You know what, Jeff? I really don't like this Saints team, to be honest with you. I think that the Saints team is very overrated. I think their coach is really not doing this team is a great service by literally not checking the situation between Derek Carr and Chris Olave. You know what I mean? I feel like he's kind of being a little weird towards Olave by not, getting him the ball when he really needs to get him the ball. Michael Thomas has been an enigma this season, and we're bigging up Rashid, whatever it is, bro. Dude, he's a receiver that wears number 22. Come on, man. There's a lot of things that I just don't like going on with this team. Alvin Kamara frustrated left and right, and let's keep it real. The Saints played like they were going to get rid of Jameis, but they're holding Jameis here because they know it's going to be a week where they're just going to say, Derek Carr, sit your ass down. You know what I mean? And that's why they're keeping Jameis here. But if it was up to them, they would let Taysom Hill be the starter. But they know the controversy in making Taysom Hill the starter because then you get the Tim Tebow talk, and that's what they don't want to do. That's why I keep saying when Haener is ready, he's going to be the starter, Jeff. I know everybody just, Haener. I'm telling you right now, when Haener is ready, he'll be the starter. And Pete Carroll should be kicking himself right now because if he had Haener the Seahawks would actually be a team that we could take seriously. But it's just a matter of time before the Seahawks really look truly who they are. But we'll get to them in a second. But the Bears, I truly do feel if the Bears, it looks like Justin Fields is in motion to start this week because they said it was only going to be a few weeks. And I think we established Sunday that he's not losing his job. I know NBC was selling him losing his job, but you know what? Let's stop with the Cinderella stories, Jeff. You know what I mean? Who cares if the guy played for a Division II team and is in the NFL now? Good for you, but you're not a starter in this league. But you know what I mean? Yeah, you're bragging about beating the Raiders. Who hasn't beat the Raiders in a situation like that? Come on, man. The Raiders make every brand new quarterback look like Joey Willie Namath reborn. You know what I mean? So it is what it is at the end of the day. But this game, I truly do feel like if we get Justin Fields in this game, they're going to affect this team. And I really am only taking the Bears because I know how bad Derek Carr has been against the Bears in his career. It's been an absolute shit show when it comes to Carr playing the Bears. And let's remember what happened a few years back. Carr, Bears, Fields rookie year, they lose. So you know what? They can say what they want about this Bears defense, but they're day and night. They'll be good one week, bad the next week. The Saints don't have a good enough quarterback to really dominate the Bears here. I'm taking the +7.5 on the Bears. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. Jeff, what are your thoughts and who do you have winning or covering in this game?
You know, you're right. The Saints have been the Jekyll and Hyde team. You know, Carr's putting up decent numbers, but check down Charlie. And then he finally tries to hit what would have been like a 45, 50-yard touchdown to Olave. He hits him in the helmet. That was on Olave. But his long passes, haven't been close. But all of a sudden, he has a connection with Rashid. This Bears team, I was watching the game Sunday, and I'm just watching, and the kid can actually make some throws. You know, D2 Shepard, I get the whole story. I get everything about it, but he did actually have some decent throws. I wasn't able to get DJ Moore going on Sunday, but as we know, it was the get well Justin Herbert day, and Herbert looked like the top 5 quarterback that I think he is. Tough spot here. I bought the hook. I bought the Bears to +8. I'm looking for a little regression from Carr. Alvin Kamara has come back after a suspension and looked fabulous. One of those gritty, kind of boring grab butt games. My true number was 7 with a 42. It's 7-41. Give me that, 24-17, maybe 23-17. Saints win, Bears covers. How's that?
Sounds good to me. But you know what, though, man? I'm going to be crazy this week when I can do my straight up list, and I'm going to put the Bears as the winner this week. I don't know why. I just feel like putting the Bears as the winner this week, but I'm going to do that. But I think the cover is what you really are looking for there. You know what I mean? And I think the Bears can go ahead and handle that for us. Now, let's go ahead, and this is one of the best games of the week right here, and that's going to be Seahawks 5-2 at the Ravens 6-2, 5.5 point spread, over under a 43. I'm going to let you kick this one off, Jeff. What are your thoughts on this one, and who do you have winning?
I'm big on the Ravens. I've been big on the Ravens since August. I've been big on Lamar as MVP. I like everything that's going on with Baltimore. And I have to say, I didn't give enough respect preseason, pre-flop on the Seattle Seahawks. Look at them. They're 5-2. They lost their home opener to the Rams. They did not come out of the locker room in the second half. But since then, 5-1. My number is spot on to what the number is. And the public doesn't know what to do with this game. It's a 5.5 with a 42.5. That was my true number. It's 5.5 with a 43. This is in Baltimore. A lot of respect to Vegas saying, hey, we're not sure which way this game's going to go. We're going to let the public decide. So stuck here. I didn't buy a hook. I left it at 5.5. I think it's going to be a close game. Who wins the turnover battle? On the Seattle side, Looks like Charbonnet getting more action at the running back situation. Njigba has now scored 2 weeks in a row. Noah Fant starting to get some more play. Obviously, DK and Lockett. This is one of the games of the week in my eyes. I get the Ravens to cover, Pops, but this is no guarantee. This is hopefully the Ravens win by 6 or more, Pops.
You know what, Jeff? And I've been hard on Lamar, hard on the Ravens and all that this year because, I just feel like they've kind of, they're late to the party with Lamar. But you know what? Lamar was not impressing me here in the first 4 weeks of the season. But over the last few games where he's had to play against way better teams and teams that are seen as playoff type teams and being able to hold off most of the AFC North except for a fluky loss in Pittsburgh. Right now, I can say this with my chest out very far. The Ravens are the best team in the AFC because when you look at the schedule and you look at the way they beat down those teams in the schedule, this team is good. They're really good. Yeah, the Colts, that was a tough game because the Colts had a good game plan that day. The Steelers, that was a coincidence of turnovers. But all in all, other than that, they've been absolutely tremendous. They've been a very dominant team, and they've been able to do it in all facets of the game. And I know I was really rough on them, but that's because I was still a little mad at Detroit for not showing up in that game last week. So, it is what it is. I think that I was with the rest of America because I wasn't impressed after the Detroit game, but I was impressed to see how they played against a Cardinals team that was scrappy and hungry last Sunday, and they didn't let it slip. And this used to be the Ravens all the time. You let a game slip against one of the worst teams in the league. Lamar was good for that, but this time around, you have a Ravens team that takes care of their business when they got to play in games like this. These games haven't even been close with these teams this year when they got to play in these type of games. And Jeff, you know how I feel about Geno Smith. He's a backup. Look at what he did last week. That was all. He didn't play great last week. He got lucky. And, JSN bailed him out with the touchdown late. The Browns were tired by the time they got to that point. The Browns, we'll talk about that in a second, but it just was a lot of mistakes in the game. So it wasn't really the Seahawks winning the game. It was more of the Browns handing the Seahawks the win in that game. Geno has not looked good to me in the last month, and he's just, to me, a real waste for these great receivers. If you put Sam Howell with Seattle right now, they're a great team. You know what I mean? So you look at this and you say to yourself that the matchup really does call for the Ravens to have another dominant day because Geno Smith is just not it, brother. Sorry. He's not going to help you win this game. It's like he's not the quarterback for this game. You need a quarterback that's going to be deceptive, heady, and ready to, trick the Ravens. He's not going to do any of that. Everything is going to be something formful. Everybody's going to know what's coming, and they're going to wind up getting beat by 10 points or better. So that's why I'm taking the Ravens with the 5.5, and I'm going from there.
I talked about this last week on our show. I think I also talked about Thursday on your show. As we know that the Commanders already traded Monte Sweat to the Bears, and they're fielding calls for Chase Young. And we've known he's been on the block for a while now. They need to cut bait there. Just wash your hands clean, get some assets and move on. Just on social media and Twitter, the Patriots I have been calling the Commanders for this. Now, they're not adding a potential Chase Young. I know they're injured back there. They got Judon. My point is they also play the Commanders this week. So that's a Bill Belichick move. Well, can we get Chase Young for 30 cents on the dollar? And, oh, by the way, pick his brain because we play them. My point very simply is this. I've been saying all along, the one team in the AFC that is built to beat the Chiefs is the Ravens. That is the cherry on top. If they add Chase Young, I would be on the horn and make this deal happen if I'm a Raven. You add Chase Young onto the other side, you will be chasing Mahomes and Joe Burrow. Go get him, and they're the favorite to win the AFC.
Bold statement. Bold. All right, let's jump into this next game. And we got the Bucks and the Texans. Bucks 3-4, Texans 3-4. 2.5 point spread, over under 40. And you know what, Jeff? I'm gonna keep it real with you. I still like this Bucks team to win the South. I just feel like when they play against teams in the division, they just know how to beat them. That's just really what it is. Even though they did lose to the Falcons last week, I just really feel like they know how to beat the teams in their division, and when it comes down to it, I think they'll be the best team in December, and I truly do feel that, Baker Mayfield is not doing that much to really impress us, but, Baker's going to fight. He's going to compete. He's going to try to keep them in the game as much as possible. And this is a Baker type game where he can perform very well. But let's go ahead and give the Bucks their props. The Bucks have been a road dog in all their games and covered every single one of them. Every single one of them. And they just lost their first road game of the year against the Bills and almost beat them. So, that's something that you can tip your cap to. Now they get a game with the Texans to where they're going to have to lock it up on the defensive end. And I think the CJ Stroud hype train has kind of died down a little bit after the last few weeks because he threw a pick and, the games haven't went as well as you wanted him to go because they're not getting enough points on the board because he has the stats. But when you look at the points, they're still not scoring points. That's why a lot of these guys who have big passing stats in today's NFL, they're playing on some of the worst teams in the NFL as well, too, and they're not scoring any points because they're only getting those stats is because you're throwing the ball 40 to 50 times a game. You know what I mean? That's not as good as what we saw Burrow do in San Francisco, 28 for 32. You know what I mean? And you still throw for 300 yards. That's amazing. But when you go 39 for 53, you're supposed to throw for 400 yards. Why not? You know what I mean? So that's what I'm looking at. And I think that's what it truly much is that they have to make up for a very, very stagnant run game in Houston. And it makes it look like Houston's this big, potent passing team, but really they're not because the points will tell you that they're not. So pretty much where I'm going with this one is the Bucks have the better defense in this game. And this is going to be a defensive game. This is going to be an under as well, too. It's probably going to finish up like 13-10, Jeff, to be honest with you, or maybe 17-14, something of that nature. But all in all, though, the Bucks are going to win the game. So I'm going to take them with the plus 125. I truly don't feel that they need to be the dog here because when I did my opening line, I had the Bucks as a 2.5-point favorite in Houston. I don't think Houston has reserved the right yet to be a favorite this season.
I had the Panthers getting their first win. I was on with JB Sunday morning.
I was with you last week and I said that.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
The Vegas Scoreboard Express, and I was the only one out there, it seemed. I said the Panthers get their first win. Ugly, but they found a way to get it. And now they're just 2.5-point favorites. They're not 3.5. Vegas has given you the hint which side they like here. We bought the hook, took them up to 3 just in case. My true number was a 2 with a 38. It's up to 3 now with a 40. I think they get to 23. I like around a 23-17 Baker and company, not only to cover, but I think they get the win and stop the bleeding right here. And this is a perfect spot for the Bucks to get back into the win column.
All right, I like it. And I think you got a really good point with that one, Jeff. I think I really do respect that right there. And you know what? I really truly feel that when it comes down to it, that this Bucks team is going to be in the mix for that spot in the for the title because they already got the one up over the Saints. You know what I mean? I know they lost to Atlanta, but they're going to beat Atlanta when they go to Atlanta. That I already know that's going to happen. So pretty much, do you like what you see with this team? That's the whole thing. It's a veteran-led group. And you know what? They're an old school type team where, yeah, we got a lot of has-beens and guys that were supposed to be good in other places, but we're mixing up pretty good. And it shows how good of a coach Bowles is as well, too. You know what I mean? And it shows that the New York Jets don't have any patience, because I truly do feel Bowles would have had the Jets probably the best team in the AFC East by this point if you would have just kept him as your coach. You know what I mean? But you gave him no shot. That's the biggest problem of what happened with him in New York. But yeah, it's crazy. I had the Bucks as a -3.5 favorite on my odds. So you know that literally they got the wrong favorite here. And I love when they got the wrong favorite. So let's move forward. Let's jump into our final game before we I'm trying to make sure I don't skip anything. But yes, we do have one more before we take another commercial break, and that's going to be this game right here. And you know what? It's just like it was last time. We got a very weird game with the Cards and the Browns. Their two teams are pretty much dealing with the same situation. They both have highly paid quarterbacks that are 50-50 on going today, because from what I'm hearing, I follow Cleveland news exponentially. They're saying now that Deshaun's a 50-50. They'll know by Friday if he's playing. Same thing goes for Kyler. They'll know by Friday for sure if he's playing. But all indications are saying that Clayton Tune is going to be the quarterback Sunday, because from what I'm hearing is that the Cardinals are not that interested in winning football games at this point. They want to be bad. And that's why Josh Dobbs had to stop being the starter, because Josh Dobbs wants to win football games. He wants to put out good tape because he has this idea he can be a starter in the NFL. So that's why they had to that's the only reason why they put him on the bench. It wasn't that he did not ever play bad quarterback. They just put him on the bench because he's trying too hard to win the game. That's all it is. And you know what? They got to have somebody that's going to go out there and lose. Y'all can call me and I'll be 75% less than anybody that you're paying on that roster. And we definitely can lose games every single week. It's not a problem. You know what I mean? Jeff will be our tailback. You know what I mean? We'll go ahead and then we'll go get my brother. He'll be the wide receiver, and we can lose every week. You know what I mean? We'll take care of that for you. But these are professional grown men. They're trying to win football games. So, the best thing for Cleveland that happened this week was Josh Dobbs not being on the sideline. Because every time I think about a Cardinals quarterback and them going to play against a former team, I think of Kevin Kolb going to Philadelphia and absolutely destroying the Eagles as their pro bono offensive coordinator today. Everybody remembers that. The guy was calling out the signals on the sideline for them to win. I still don't know why they didn't violate the Cardinals over that game, but they said it was all good and well. But your boy Bill does it. Hey, they get a $5 million fine. Damn. NFL, you pick and choose who you really want to blame for stuff, I see, huh? But all in all, this is a stupid spread. We know the spread is going to go down to 5.5, Jeff. Let's keep it real, because the Browns right now are kind of in the idea of bringing in another quarterback if they know that he can't play. But at the same time, too, they're telling themselves that this is a good week for DTR to see if he can do something, because DTR did throw a pass for 9 yards on Sunday. And I know they're telling themselves, you know what? We might need to go with DTR, because if they would have went with DTR on Sunday, they would have beat the Seahawks, because he would have actually ran the ball at that moment instead of doing whatever the hell PJ Walker was trying to do. But we understand PJ Walker has it in his head that he's a really good quarterback because he dominated the XFL. But I love PJ though, man. I don't care. If you're going to make Temple that good of a team, and we know Temple is a perennial soft frost college football team, then you get nothing but props, and you deserve to be in the NFL, but not as a starter. But all in all, though, it's really hard to bet against the Browns at home in this spot, because we know the Browns can beat these guys 17-0, call it a day. It's that simple. They know that they can do that. They just need 17 points to beat the Cardinals. It's not that hard. And I think that we know that it's going to be a double-digit victory for the Browns. The Browns are a good overall team. Yes, they have a quarterback issue, but they have a great overall team, and the run game will be good enough for this team to beat them 17-0, in my opinion, Jeff. And you know what? The weather's going to be terrible come Sunday as well, too. I'm taking the Browns -8. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. And that's with Kyler Murray, too.
I think you'll have to tune in on Sunday. No pun intended there. As you said, Dobbs was getting too close. They don't want to win. Imagine this: he's going to have 3 different playbooks in 8 weeks. He goes from Pittsburgh to Arizona now to Minnesota. So 3 different playbooks he's going to have to learn here.
It was Cleveland.
Cleveland, yes, Cleveland, Arizona, now Minnesota. Listen, this is a huge get well spot here for the Browns. I don't care if it's Brian Sipe, Bernie Kosar quarterbacking. Okay, this is the defense will shine. Get your Cleveland Browns defense in. Listen, they had a chance to win in Seattle. They're going to come back home. Must win spot. Look for the Browns to make a statement. As you said, win the turnover battle. I don't care who's back there. Just don't turn the ball over. The defense will take care of the rest. Look for Kareem Hunt. Look for Jerome Ford, Amari Cooper, Njoku. Look for them all to shine. I think you're spot on. I think they can name their score. I'll go. I'm going to go 24-9 Browns. How's that?
All right, so looks good to me because I know that it's going to be a sack party for old Myles Garrett. But I'm gonna keep it real with you. It's gonna be a sack party for the Cardinals as well too. Don't sleep on that Cardinals front seven. Those boys get to the quarterback. They might be getting benched this week as well too. Because you playing too hard. What's wrong with you? We'll be back. NFL Bet Exchange, Pop DBIC, the primetime capper of Mr. Jeff Dawson, the Don of Cape Cod. We'll be right back to you for the final stretch of the NFL Bet Exchange.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
Am I wrong? No. You look great, by the way.
You want me to?
Yes. I'm back.
All right.
Your turn.
All right. All right. So here we are. Let's go ahead and jump into it. We're getting into the late games, but we got one last early game here, and it's going to be the Rams 3-5, Packers 2-5, -3 to the Packers over under a 39.5. You know what? I know the Packers are only the favorite in this game because Matt Stafford is a 50-50. I don't think Matt Stafford's going to play on Sunday, though, Jeff, to be honest with you. And you know what? I wouldn't really want to bet on Matt Stafford come Sunday either because the Packers absolutely dominate the Rams every time they come to Green Bay. Like, it doesn't matter how bad Green Bay is at that time. They always figure out a way to beat up on the Rams. It's going to be cold. It's going to be nippy. It's going to be loud. It's going to be crazy because, you know, those Lambeau folks ain't got nothing to do but watch the Packers. It doesn't matter how bad the Packers are going to be. They'll sell that stadium out and be loud and proud, acting like Reggie White and Brett Favre on the field still. So, you know, I look at this Rams team, and they're starting to get more and more pathetic by the week. They're wasting Aaron Donald's best twilight. They're also, you know, Matt Stafford is just an overpaid quarterback at this point to me. They got a running game. They got a new running back every single week. And then they think that running slants and curl routes are going to be the recipe for getting back to the playoffs or something of that nature. And you know what? They're the most basic offense in the NFL. It's just that McVay just knows how to be deceptive in certain situations, but it only works for about 4 possessions. And it's really bad that this team really can't get more than 27 points on the board. And then the funny part is their offense spends majority of the time on the field when you look at a lot of their games. But there's so much to be desired with the Rams. This team is not the same team they were when they won the Super Bowl. That was an all-star team with a whole lot of guys on will probably be going to Canton one of these days. That was a special situation right there. They paid for that team to win a Super Bowl. That was the goal of the Rams within the first 5 years of moving back to Los Angeles. Get your new stadium, win an NFL title in that said new stadium. That was the whole plan with the Rams. They succeeded with the plan. Now Kroenke slowly has destroyed the team because he's not overpaying for this. He's not going to overpay for names, OBJ, Von Miller. You guys got to go down the road. You're just names. You know what I mean? But you had to keep those guys intact because now you became the Hollywood Rams, and the Rams are trying to be the St. Louis Rams in Los Angeles. It doesn't work, buddy. So it's gonna be a real mission for the Rams to get back to being a really relevant team. It's the OC days all over again, Jeff. I promise you. It's 1992 all over again before Georgia took the team to St. Louis. It's the same exact group. It's the same exact fan base too. So, it's just really tough with them. The Packers, they were always a work in progress. I thought they were going to be a lot better. I like Jordan Love. I like him a lot. I think he's a good football player. I think that he plays the quarterback position well. They got a great offense in place. But it's just a lot of things that make this team just really just stop in neutral because there's certain things missing. They don't have a great receiver corps. They don't have a great running game. Their offensive line is a little suspect, and the defense is just overworked. It's a lot of things going on with Green Bay that are very fixable, and I feel like they're going to fix some of these things come Sunday. So I'm going to take them with the minus 160s just simply because how bad the Rams play when they go to Lambeau.
I could talk for an hour how disappointed I am with Green Bay. Let me see something here. I was trying to look for an update for you. Stetson Bennett's on the IR. Obviously, Stafford's questionable with a thumb. My true number was the Rams -2 with a 39. Obviously, now Packers -3 with a 39.5. Vegas is telling you Stafford will not play. But Jordan Love, what was he known for in college? Being a mobile quarterback. Well, guess what? The OC does not design one rollout to the right, one rollout to the left. They did that for Rodgers. They did it for Favre, yet they think that Jordan Love's a pocket passer. He is not. That's number one. Christian Watson is as soft as a baby's diaper. I've never seen a guy so soft in my life. I got the banana in the tailpipe with him. Romeo Doubs showing some flashes. Jaden Reed's their best wide receiver, and he's a rookie. Aaron Jones still hurt. It's just a shell of himself. A.J. Dillon looking more and more every game like Eddie Lacy at the end of his career. Rams, I love them. I didn't think they were going to be this good. Cooper Kupp back, Tutu Atwell, Puka. And as you said, the backfield now of Royce Freeman back in the Oregon days and Darrell Henderson that they've traded twice. I looked at this game and I know this one's going to bite me in the you-know-what. I bought the hook, took the Rams up to 3.5. But if I trust where this is going, this will be Green Bay and Jordan Love's coming out party. With the 37. This will be, 24-13. I don't know who's quarterbacking for the Rams. Is it Vince Ferragamo? Is it Everett? Is it Kurt Warner? I have no idea, but I took them anyways, Pops.
Well, there it is. There it is. Jeff is on the Rams, 3.5. He just likes that Puka kid. That's all it is. He just likes Puka a lot. That's all. The Rams have the most basic wide receivers in the league, in my opinion. And it's just like watching Belichick's boys with, Welker and Julian and all those guys and Danny Amendola and all that stuff, and they're not producing a Super Bowl winning type team though at the same time. But we'll see. It's been a lot of good volume. We know that Sean McVay is just a hell of an offensive mind, but maybe he might not be cut out to be a real head coach. You know what I mean? Like, why don't we just kind of put that perception into play, But we'll see. But we move on. Let's talk about the Colts and the Panthers. This is probably the most irrelevant game of the week, Jeff. But there is a storyline here. You have Frank Reich, former Colts coach that was fired midseason. And then you have Bryce Young, a guy that the Colts could have moved up for, but they decided to settle for Anthony Richardson because they saw the Cam Newton, Patrick Mahomes effect with that, and they didn't want the safe situation with Bryce Young. I still believe in my heart of hearts that Bryce Young should be in Indianapolis with the Colts, and they would probably be 5-3 instead of 3-5 at this point because he's the right type of quarterback for their situation. Because I really feel bad for the Colts because the Colts actually have the best roster in the South. They do. They have Michael Pittman, awesome. Joshua Downs, awesome. Zach Moss, awesome. Jonathan Taylor, awesome. Offensive line, these is really good. Zaire Franklin, lead tackler in the NFL. Do I need to go on about this Colts team? This Colts team is the most under-the-radar team in the NFL. Why? Because they have a bad quarterback situation. Gardner Minshew, I know Jeff loves him. I like the guy too. But let's face it, he's a backup. Straight up, he's a backup. That's what he is. It's what he's good at doing, is being a backup quarterback. And we know that he's going to have a good shot against the Panthers. But once again, when teams get their first win of the season, now they got confidence, Jeff. Big confidence. And they got the win at home too. And Bryce Young looked absolutely like he belonged. You know what I mean? But he's looked like he belonged all season. It's just that he got a bad group that he plays with. But him and Adam Thielen have now caught their rapport. Hayden Hurst as well, too. Terrence Marshall has played some pretty good football. And then you're possibly going to get some things from Mingo as well, too. So, now you look at this and you tell yourself, okay, it's a new month. It's a new time. Let's see what we can do. And I like the Panthers going into this game, and I'm going to take the Panthers with the plus 125. Jeff, what are your thoughts on this one, and who do you have winning or covering this game?
I looked at this. I liked the Panthers last week, and I like everything you said about the Colts because it's true. And don't forget, Anthony Richardson will be back next year. And quick note, Coach Vrabel has come out and says expect Will Levis to start on Thursday at Pittsburgh. But I'm looking at this game. It's the Jekyll and Hyde Colts, which – Gardner Minshew shows up. I'm following your lead. What we do here, we got the Panthers. We bought the hook. We took them up to 3. My true number is 2.5 with a 45.5. Expecting a lot of points here. I think, we got that classic 23-20, maybe 24-20. I'm going to go 24-23 Panthers. How's that, Pops? I think they not only cover, I think they get their second win, Pops.
Yeah, I'm feeling that too, man. I think that they get their second win. It's going to be once again, this is going to be an over bet to the Colts, and Colts are not an over bet. Colts are better when it's a 50-50 situation, 55-45, something like that. But when you put them in a situation where everybody going to go 80, 20, 70, 30 on them, nope. I'm okay. I'm straight. I'm fine. All right, Giants, Raiders. This is going to be the Giants' first trip to Vegas. As a football team, I know it won't be their first trip to Vegas, most of them, but you got the Giants 2-6, you got the Raiders 3-4. You know that Waller is happy because now he can just hang out at his house all week with Kelsey Plum because he's probably not going to play. You know what I mean? And we know who wears the pants in that house now. Joint. You know what I mean? But it's all good. It's all good. But Waller, Waller is it don't matter anyway. Waller's an overpaid player as is. He's another he reminds me a lot of Hope Solo's old man, Jeremy Stevens. Remember him? Jeremy Stevens played for the Seattle Seahawks. He dropped the pass in the Super Bowl, and he was talking the most trash in the world about he was going to do this, do that. Jeremy Stevenson was actually a Pro Bowler that year as well too, and one of the top 5 tight ends. He never was the same after that. They literally cut him right after that. He played for the Arizona Cardinals for a little bit, and then him and Hope Solo had some toxic marriage or something like that for a while. But I'm just throwing that one out there because, you know, it's just cautionary tales. Hopefully nothing crazy happens with those two. But Giants 2-6, Raiders 3-4. Can we both agree that Saquon Barkley is going to go absolutely crazy against them, though? At least I know Barkley's going to have a huge game. I know that's going to happen. But this is one thing I do want to say about the Raiders before we, you know what, I might save it for my show because I want to make sure that we get out of here on time today. But the Raider fans, you guys got to stop being so simmer your expectations. What did you expect this year? Like, did you expect to win a Super Bowl? Like, that's my biggest question. Like, did you expect to win the West this year? Like, what are you expecting? Like, I know I don't like McDaniels that much either, but what are you expecting? Like, every week you're coming out crying and complaining on Twitter about, you know, I hate this team. I don't like this team. You guys keep saying fire the coach. I keep saying fire the owner because he's going to keep making bad decisions. So you guys got to somewhat just shut up. Nobody cares. We never were high on the Raiders being a good team this year. At the end of the day, nobody was high on the Raiders being a good team because Jeff been telling y'all for 2 years, McDaniels is going to take you to the crapper. That's all he's going to do. He's going to take you to the landfill. He ain't taking you to no Super Bowl or no playoff. He's taking you to the top 15 of the draft. That's the only place that man can take you to. Okay? And then you guys were the ones who were like, no, it's a good move. So now you got to deal with it. You told the owner it was a good move, and he was being smart. So he's going to take your first assumption that he did a good job. You know what I mean, Jeff? So, you know, you got to deal with it, Raider fans. Shut up. Nobody cares. We didn't give you guys any expectations this year. Cut it out. Seriously. You know, before we really make you start playing in the parking lot. It's bad. You know what I mean? But all in all, I go on that long rant, Jeff, because I don't really have much to say about this game. The Giants kind of gave up already. They got rid of one of their better defensive players. The Raiders are still trying somewhat, and that's what I say. Back up a little bit because you guys want to fire the coach, and you're 3-5. You're 3-5. You know what I mean? Like, come on, dude, calm down. You know what I mean? There's other teams out here 1-6, and they ain't even thinking about firing their coach. And the Raiders had a winning record and had 1-2 in a row. They wanted to fire the coach. Dude, shut up. You're not going anywhere, so who cares? Saying, yeah, Devontae Adams ain't moving on from nothing, Jeff, because why? That brother got a Taco Bell in the house. Why would you want to leave a Taco Bell in the house? You know what I mean? Like, man, you ain't moving to no penthouse in Atlanta somewhere, and you don't have your Taco Bell there. But all in all, Jeff, I'm going to stop goofing off with this one, and I'm going to go ahead and take the Raiders with the -2.5. Because the Giants are awful, okay? They're not trying, bro, and they don't have a quarterback. So, yeah, we're moving on. Lee Raiders, 2.5, no problem. Danny DeVito's nephew's playing or something at quarterback for the Giants. I'm cool. I'm good. Jeff, your thoughts? Who do you have winning the game?
Well, you know something? You need to fly me out to Vegas. You need me to sit down with upper management. I could have saved you 2 years of headaches. You know, when you complain about your team, let's just take a look at the structure. First of all, Josh Jacobs coming off of leading the NFL in rushing, wanted a new contract, sitting outside Allegiant Stadium or wherever they practice, just waiting for a contract. You sign a high-priced diva named Devontae Adams, who was unhappy over the past summer, but you don't move him. You bring in Jimmy G, who is as fragile as the skeleton in the closet or at the front door for Halloween. You got rid of Waller. Thank God. It was someone else's problem. Now the Giants. So my point is you didn't build this team correctly. You could watch Max Crosby last night, man. That guy is a beast, an absolute beast. Never takes a play up. My point here is expect Daniel Jones to play. expect a little Darren Waller. I'm going to just get my paycheck, because that's what these divas do. They find ways now in the system to collect paychecks. It should be like the NBA should be. It should, and that's a whole nother story and show. It should play for pay, and that's what these guys don't do, unfortunately. I like the G-men. I like them not only plus the points. I bought the hook to 3.5. I think Daniel Jones comes back. I'm going to say Jalen Hyatt scores. Barkley runs wild. And expect a pick 6 from this Giants defense, who the last 2 weeks has looked pretty damn good. So give me the G-men plus 3.5 and sprinkle a little pizza and bear money, because I think they win outright, Pups.
And you know what? I was so disappointed because I really wanted the Giants to win that game. That was a good old slobber knocker. You know, you figured out a way to get a touchdown late, and defense just hold them, and they didn't. That's what I was like, dude. As a guy, that just reminds me of when I was young playing in football games, and the other side just cannot hold after we didn't had such a great game. You know what I mean? Like, dude, you know what I mean? Like, I need you guys to give me some points, and you guys haven't got me no points all day. You know I'm tired by the time we get to the fourth quarter, so I'm gonna make some mistakes, and then we lose the game. It's just damn, you know. But you know what?
Let's and two things that. And Gano, that second missed field goal, number one, and number two, that second pass that Wilson connects to, the ref's got to spot that ball. If the ref spot that ball, they don't even get the kickoff. So the Giants, in my mind, won that game. It's a shame. I think they take it out on Jimmy G and company this week, but we'll see.
Hey, you know what? Hey, and every time it seems like that every time a New York team makes their debut in Vegas somewhere, they always do well. But I just can't trust it, Jeff. I'm just gonna go ahead and take the Raiders and see what they can do. All right, this one I know we're gonna have some. This one is the game of the week, straight up. And once again, NBC, what are we doing here? Last week we had the Chargers and the Bears, and you had the Bengals in San Francisco play the 125 game. That should have been your Sunday night football game, while the Bears and Chargers were your 125 fourth regional on CBS. But I don't know what we're doing here. But this week again, we got a game with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys, and they're playing in the afternoon and not on Sunday night football. Well, I guess these networks have came out their money out the pocket to buy these games that they want to have. And you know what? I truly do feel like this Cowboys team is rounding into form. If you're a Cowboys fan, you should love the fact that the nation's not talking about you. I don't know if the nation is talking about them or not. I haven't heard much about the Cowboys this year, Jeff, because I'm not watching Skip Bayless. I'm not watching Stephen A. Smith anymore. I'm not watching any of those ESPN FS1 mind suck shows. You know what I mean? I don't watch that stuff anymore. So I don't know if they're getting talked about in a high regard as they usually do, but I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard the internet go crazy about the Cowboys this year. None of that. I hear more about the Eagles than I hear about the Cowboys. And if you're a Cowboys fan, you should love that. You should absolutely be in love with that you aren't in the spotlight this year. And that kind of people have moved on from the Cowboy, bashing and the Cowboy rooting, a little bit. And
hey, Pops.
Yeah.
Breaking news. News.
Okay.
49ers get Chase Young.
Okay.
Oh, my God. I apologize.
Yeah. Yeah, you could you could have waited your turn, but it's cool. It's all right. But 5-2 with the Cowboys, Eagles 7-1. I truly do feel like this one right here is a good measurement game for the Cowboys to come out and really, see exactly who they are. I think that they had a little bit of stage fright against San Francisco because that's a rivalry game and they got fan bases and people all in their ear about this one. This is a divisional game, and let's keep it real. The Eagles are great, but they still haven't solved the Cowboys. They can say what they want, but the Cowboys still have a winning record against them in the last 5 years. And I don't care. I think that the Cowboys still are going to be a absolute problem for the Eagles, and I'm going to take the 3.5. I'm not going to take the money line, but I'll take the 3.5 to keep the game close. Jeff, what are your thoughts, and where are you going with this one?
My true number was a 3 with a 46.5. Currently 3 with a 46. I talked about this yesterday on our closing bell show. I'm going to say this again. If you like Dallas, make sure you buy some futures on Dallas. Meaning, I know you'll get 60 minutes of action if you take the Dallas plus 3 or 3.5, or you sprinkle a little something on the pizza and beer money on them to win outright. But my point is here that if you take a look at the actual numbers, this is, I think, a perfect spot for Dallas not only to come in and cover. I think they steal and win this game and kind of say, okay, you had the start of the season. It was your division last year. We're here to take it over. I expect Dak to play off of his performance last week, keep CeeDee Lamb cooking, maybe get Pollard a little more involved. I like Micah keeping Jalen Hurts in check. And the tush push, that was a nice little addition with a little flip to Swift. So now you got to keep your eyes on that. They did fumble on one of those tush pushes, but I like the Broncos, the Cowboys plus 3.5 bought the hook, but I think they possibly and will win outright, Pops.
Well, it is. Well, you know what? The Eagles, you said you feel like they can win outright, but you know what? I think we're both on to something and all that good when it comes down to it. And man, it's just an absolute gem of a situation. I'm kind of distracted, but real quick by the Deion situation because I live in Pasadena, y'all, and so pretty much it's pretty funny that he's asking the Rose Bowl to reimburse that situation right there. It seems like they're going to probably be firing some people at the Rose Bowl very soon. And somebody asked me how, and I'm just like, dude, you can't sit up there and still $30,000 worth of jewelry and think that they're not going to have some type of investigation with the workers that go into that locker room. Like, dude, seriously. And, but all in all, though, real quick, why don't we talk about the Chase Young? And, I was just goofing with you too, Jeff. I'm glad that you did report that to the show and everything like that for us. Your quick thoughts, and I'm going to give my quick assessment of it. What are your thoughts on Chase Young going to this team, and do you think that will help the 49ers get this pass rush back intact as well, too? Because nobody's been saying this, but the 49ers pass rush has been absolutely dreadful in all three of those games, except for the Browns game.
3-game losing streak, seeing chinks in the armor in Purdy, but as we both know, Mr. Shanahan, it's about the system. How does he want to win? By running the ball and playing defense. Well, this is just, as I talked as big as if the Ravens got him, this is even bigger on how to slow down the bleeding. Chase Young and Nick Bosa now reunited, both from, the Ohio State, right? Ohio State, right, Pops? On both of these guys.
Huh?
You're not even paying attention. Chase Young and Nick Bosa both played at Ohio State, correct?
Okay.
No, I'm asking you because my brain's
they did. Yes, I know.
Okay.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. So yes, reunited, and now you get that pass rush. You get the dynamic duo, the edge rush. Now look for them maybe to try to get a left tackle, because again, losing Trent Williams is going to be huge there. But the bye week this week, and then they got to travel to Jacksonville, and they're only 2.5-point favorites at Jacksonville. So there's a potential that they could lose 4 in a row before they stop this bleeding. But hell of a move by the 49ers. I love it, Pops.
Oh man, beautiful move by him. Sorry about that too, man. It's just that was a silly message. So but yes, Chase Young and Nick Bosa were one of the best duos ever at Ohio State rushing the passer, and they made life very easy for Ohio State moving forward with that team. There's some of Urban Meyer's best work, and I think that might have been their best defense ever, because they have about 10 guys in the league right now. Okuda's in the league. Who else? They got a ton of guys in the league right now from that defense alone. And Hubbard Come on, the guys that play for Cincinnati right now, Hubbard and my man and Hendricks. Those guys are Ohio State guys as well too. Well, not Hendricks, but Hubbard was. And it's crazy that they all play together, and pretty much they are now all, situated in San Francisco. So that should be really good. And San Francisco again does something big at the trade deadline. And San Francisco has been good at being able to make these trades and improve their team. When they got Christian McCaffrey, they were going through a losing streak then as well too. People have to understand one thing about the 49ers is every October or November, they start kind of straining a little bit. They start playing a weird type of football game because nobody wants to say this, but you can figure Kyle Shanahan out pretty well if you can just get on the ball. You know what I mean? And I truly do feel like, and now we can talk about it, I truly do feel like there was a lot of things exposed by the Bengals. It wasn't that, the 49ers are a bad team, because they had 2 games they could have won against Cleveland and Minnesota. When they played Cincinnati, they had no chance. They weren't even on the field, Jeff, half the time. They were literally just walking out there and handing the ball right back over to the Bengals. I was watching all the games on Red Zone, and every time I looked up, the Bengals were on the field. You rarely saw the 49ers on the field. And then I looked at the box scores, and I saw that the Bengals spent almost 10 more minutes on the field than the 49ers did. They also ran about 20 more plays than the Niners did as well, too. And they just were really good. Defense played exceptional, and their defense doesn't get enough credit because everybody's so in love with their offense. Everybody's always talking about Jamar Chase. Everybody's talking about T. Higgins, Joe Mixon, Boyd, Burrow, blah, 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 blah. But when that group is stagnant and can't do anything, who keeps the game competitive? It's their defense. And that's what a lot of people have to understand, is that the Cincinnati Bengals defense has been the star for this team this season. It hasn't been them as a group. It's been the defense who's been the star, and the offense has been a slow cooker. Now they're intact. They're going to do the things that they want to do. I thought it was absolutely incredible the way that they had the 49ers looking like a bottom 5 defense all game long. It wasn't like it was just 1 or 2 plays. It was the whole damn game, Jeff. And Jamar Chase was being triple teamed and still had a day against these guys. And Joe Mixon, we don't talk about him enough. He's the top 5 running back in this league because he can do it both, versatile, very good at what he does. So pretty much with that, I truly do feel that the Bengals have turned the corner to become the team that we expected them to be. But, Jeff, I told you guys this all season, they're slow cookers. They're not going to be a team that is going to jump out 3 and zip. That's not them. They're going to come out probably 1-2, 1-3, and then they'll have their motivation that they need, and then they step it up. And I think that they got motivated when Jamar Chase sat there with the media and said that I'm always open. And pretty much everything changed that day. Everything changed that day. And so now we're sitting here with the same scenario that we've been sitting here for the last, 3 Novembers, where the Bengals are taking off. And we're at that point. The Bills are still the biggest wild card that we have in the NFL. We know that because they got Josh Allen, great quarterback, great player, always checks off all the boxes of a gamer, all that good stuff. But once again, he's a guy that turns over the ball way too much to be considered an elite quarterback. I'm sorry. It's just way too much. And he's great. He's good. But it's just too much. Too much. Way too many turnovers at the wrong time. But all in all, though, I feel like we're going to get some sweet revenge here from the Bills because they owe the Bengals one. Now, hopefully, we can get the game on. Hopefully, nobody falls out this time, Jeff. And if they do fall out, can we just continue the game? That's my biggest question. But all in all, though, I'm going to take the Bills to cover. I don't know if they win, but I think they can cover a 3.5. It's going to be a close game in Cincinnati.
We went the opposite. We took the Bengals in the money line -155. I will give you the look-ahead line of the Bills -1. And then, of course, we saw what the Bills did last week. And now we saw the resurgence of Joe Burrow being healthy, running straight down the middle, not once or twice, but 3 times, looking for someone to tackle him. And he didn't slide. He wasn't afraid. He is 100% healthy. Burrow to Chase is back. T. Higgins is back. Joe Mixon is back. But this number is going out of whack, I should say. Again, my true number was a pick 'em with a 46.5. Now 3 with a 48.5. This is going to be an old-fashioned, maybe last one with the ball wins. I think this is 24-23 Bengals with a late field goal to end it. But again, we're getting past the point. The true value in this game is the Bills, because we will remember what we saw last with the Bengals. So before we anoint Joe Burrow versus Patrick Mahomes, AFC winner goes to the bowl, remember what you got in front of you. And this is going to be a tall task for the Bengals. I think they eke it out and get it done, but this is not going to be, a 7 or 10 point victory for sure.
I feel. And you know what, Jeff? I'm going to keep it real with you. The AFC is no guarantees. Only team that can say, okay, we probably have a spot in the AFC Championship is the Chiefs, because they have the experience. They have the wherewithal to get there. But Bengals, Ravens, Dolphins, Bills, it's a real conundrum on who's going to be out that group. But we'll know more and more this month. People have to understand, when we're in November really tells us who the contenders and pretenders truly are, because now you start getting tough games, and then you start getting games that are middling games that wind up being tough games. And I'm telling you right now, everybody's at that point of the season where they're not trying to lose 9 games in November. I tell everybody, your season's over once you lose 9 games, if it's not at the last week of the season. Okay? You're not you just if you lost 9 games by the time we end November, your season's over. It's okay. But all in all, right now, everybody's still in the race somewhat. But this is the perfect month to really separate everybody. We're going to really get to know who's real and who isn't. That's my whole thing. But I feel like there's 4 teams behind the Chiefs right now, and we're not even talking about Jacksonville yet. Jacksonville's won 5 in a row, and we haven't even mentioned them yet. And so pretty much you got 5 teams sitting behind this group right here. And then you got 2 more that think that they might have some say in this situation as well, too, them being in the Browns and the Jets. You know what I mean? Because the Jets somewhat don't want to go away, and they keep, advertising that Aaron Rodgers might possibly come back. But I wouldn't want that, no way. But you know what? They're a team that needs that type of the Jets. I've just realized they're just a team that just needs the media. They just need to have a story going on. They just need to be relevant. That's all it is. It doesn't matter if they're good or not. They just need to be relevant and have the New York Times talking about them, which they rarely do. But Monday Night Football got to be a good one, right, Jeff? LA versus New York. East meets West, like me and Jeff do all the time. But, pretty much Chargers 3-4. You got the Jets 4-3, -3 spread to the Chargers, not to the Jets. Sorry about that. The Jets would not be the favorite in this game, regardless of them winning 3 games in a row. It doesn't matter. That the Chargers, we know this, that if the Chargers were better, they would probably be the second best team in the NFL right now. They could be undefeated if they want to be. This is how good the Chargers are. And the Chargers really are just so inconsistent that you don't know what to think week in and week out. But I think they're due for what the Chargers usually do. They lost 2 in a row, right, Jeff? Now they got to win 2 in a row. They lost 2 in a row to start the season. Now they need to win 2 in a row like they did a few weeks back. This is the Chargers for you. They're going to wind up being a 10-7, 9-8 team. But this is a very important game, because this is somewhat like a semifinal for these. This is like a tournament of 64 for these AFC teams, because these games are important down the road, because they are the ones that determine tiebreakers. So this game is very important for both sides. And I truly do feel that, like you said earlier, Mr. Herbert is in motion right now. He's playing great football with a broken middle finger on the left hand. and he's just making everybody that much better. QJ is about to be inserted into the lineup this week because Josh Palmer is going to be a little gimpy. So they got a lot of things going in the right direction, and I'm hearing Jalen Guyton may be playing Monday night as well too. That's another deep threat for the Chargers. So you know what? The Chargers, I think, are going to have their best month of the season, Jeff. I don't think they lose a game here in November. I looked at their schedule. I'm taking them with the minus 155 to win this game against the Jets. I'm not impressed with anything the Jets are doing. They're just barely getting by, man. They're not winning these games because they're good. They're winning these games because they're keeping these games somewhat feasible. And then Zach Wilson keeps finding a way to win these games. And this is why I keep saying that Salah, you look really dumb now because Zach Wilson can actually play the position. You just have to draw up the right plays. It's that simple. It's not really that hard. What is your thoughts, and who do you have winning this game?
This game to me, if a Jet was to win this game, they go to 5-3, which would be a shocker. The Chargers, as you know, had a lot of love for them to start the year. I thought they would definitely be a playoff team. Need a big, big win here. But what's scaring me in the back of my mind is on primetime opening day that the Jets shocked the Bills after 4 plays with Aaron Rodgers. They win. And the Eagles came in a couple of weeks ago undefeated, and the Jets win. This is another primetime spot on Monday. My true number was 2.5 with a 42.5. I got this one perfect pops. Dicker the kicker from 47, 23-20 Chargers walk off.
Yeah, here goes my final prediction for the game. Chargers win this one 30-10. They don't even let the Jets in this one, dude. I think that they absolutely kick the shit out of the Jets here, but we'll have to see. Their defense is really sketchy, so we'll see. We will see. But all in all, once again, Jeff, thank you for the breaking news and everything like that with Chase Young. I know it's exciting. It's going to be awesome to see Chase Young be on a winner because he's a winner. And, a lot of guys, they just have to play for winners to step their game up. And also shout out to Josh Dobbs as well, too, for being able to continue his starting situation. I think that they're going to get him acclimated with the team first, and then they'll bring him in next week. But if he plays Sunday, that gives us an even stronger chance to win that game. So, we'll see how that one goes as well, too. But all in all, this is another great episode of the NFL Bet Exchange with my main man, the Don of Cape Cod himself, Mr. Jeff Dawson. And I got to hurry up because I got to let this man get to his next show and let him get a little bit of a breather somewhat because his dog's over here looking at him right now talking about, hey, man, we were supposed to take that walk at 3 o'clock, but, you're playing around a lot. So, I don't know how long I'll be able to hold this water in me. So we'll see, but all in all, though, much love to the little doggy, much love to the Dawson family as well as always. And so, with that, this is the NFL Bet Exchange with your host, the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the other host, the Don of Cape Cod himself, Mr. Jeff Dawson. And we will be back to you next Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll be back to you next week with the NFL Bet Exchange, and you'll see us Thursday as well, too, if Jeff has time for me, talking some NCAA college basketball. So you guys make sure you tune in for that one as well, too. So with that, we are gone. Toodles, bid adieu. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the NFL Bet Exchange, where the sharpest bets are laid. This show was produced by the Prime Wave Media Group.